Greetings and salutations, everybody. It's IXLJ, the OG from Cole TV, and welcome to the very first episode of Back in the Day. I'm so honored and privileged to be here with World Championship Wreckage, to be a part of this. It's going to be a weekly segment you're going to see here on World Championship Wreckage's YouTube channel. And I get the distinct honor of taking a look back at the history of WCW and talking about it with you all. And I can't wait to get right into it. We're going to talk about so much stuff because there is a rich history in World Championship Wrestling. I mean, everybody talks about the different eras in the WWE with the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and stuff, but WCW had a ton of eras. The Jim Crockett era, the Jim Herd era, the Bill Watts era, the Eric Bischoff era, you know, the era with the NWO, the Vince Russo era, good, bad, whatever. We're going to talk about it here all on Back in the Day. I want to start it off first with looking back in the history of World Championship Wrestling this week. And how appropriate, this is the very first segment we're going to be talking about here. Top story I want to talk about. I'll take you all the way back to 2000. To April the 25th of 2000. I think you know where I'm going with this. Yes, folks. It is arguably, probably the most infamous championship title change, not only in WCW, but in all of professional wrestling, going all the way back to WCW Thunder, where David Arquette won the World Heavyweight Championship. So this title change occurred with then champion, WCW champion Diamond Dallas Page teamed up with David Arquette to take on Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff. So the rules of this matchup stipulated that whoever got the pinfall in this matchup would be declared WCW champion. So David Arquette would end up pinning Eric Bischoff ultimately, and thus, yes, he would be declared the WCW champion. Now, of course, all this was primarily done as a PR promotional campaign for the Ready to Rumble film that was coming out around this time, which, by the way, say what you will about that movie, don't sleep on it. It's actually a pretty fun movie, I'm just saying. And, of course, this would actually build to the pay-per-view Slamboree the next month, where you would see David Arquette defend the World Championship in a triple cage matchup against Diamond Dallas Page and Jeff Jarrett. Of course, same triple cage that was featured in Ready to Rumble. It is definitely not one of the greatest moments in WCW history, but it's a moment you have to talk about nonetheless. Because, I mean, it's still something we talk about to this day. And with all due respect, David Arquette did everything he could possible to try to make this work. He did what he could do, what he was dealt with. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, this is the era of Vince Russo booking, so just saying. But that, my friends, is our top story of the week here on Back in the Day. Now let's take a look on a brighter side of things. How about your match of the week? So for the match I chose for the very first episode here, I want you to go all the way back to 1996, and we're talking at the height of the Cruiserweight division. This matchup is incredible, and it is the debut in WCW, first time ever, for one Rey Mysterio Jr., the recently put in Hall of Fame Rey Mysterio Jr. So we're going to the Great American Bash 1996 with Rey Mysterio Jr. against Dean Malenko for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. The chemistry Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio have was freaking off the charts, man. This matchup is awesome. It's an incredible, to have this as your first match in WCW, it's put everybody, not only in the Cruiserweight division, but everybody in WCW on notice that Rey Mysterio Jr. was a future superstar in the making. I remember seeing this for the first time, and I was just like, holy crap, I didn't know you could do that with the body physically. Rey Mysterio Jr. is so ahead of his time, but the chemistry he had with Dean Malenko was incredible. Watch any of their matches, is phenomenal, but for this week, we're going to go with the Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Dean Malenko from WCW Great American Bash 1996. You know, throughout the history of WCW, there was a plethora of incredible feuds. So each week here on Back in the Day, we want to highlight one of those feuds. And for the very first episode here, I want to talk about what I think is not only one of the greatest feuds in WCW history, but as well as professional wrestling history in general. And granted, yes, it is. We're going back to the Crockett era. Really, this is technically the NWA, but still, it counts, damn it. Talking about the feud between Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard from the mid-'80s. Oh my gosh. These guys, the chemistry between these guys is insane. Like, the feud was phenomenal. I mean, they wrestled literally like over 130 times from the span of like 1985 to 1986. It was just like, they just had natural chemistry. Like, you could just tell, like, just the back and forth between these guys. This is a feud, too, that, like, you know, everybody talks about Steamboat and Flair, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. I put this right up there. Like, these guys just had some amazing killer matchups. And, like, you were so invested into this feud. It was just like, oh my god, you so wanted to see Tully Blanchard get his one-up-ins. Because Tully Blanchard, one of the greatest heels of all time. And they feuded over the NWA United States Championship, which was one of the most prestigious titles, and still to this day is one of the most prestigious titles in wrestling history. So interestingly enough, how the feud started, actually, was they actually both were involved in a battle royal where their paths crossed for the first time. I mean, the feud got so insanely intense, like, it almost was like you forgot that there was a championship at stake during these two's time in the ring. I'll never forget, too, the promo that Magnum TA cut on Tully Blanchard, like, on Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Oh my gosh, it was so intense. It was so just like, it shook you to the core. You were just like, oh my god, Magnum's gonna kill him the next time he sees him. And that's the thing, these two were just masters of just grabbing your attention and getting you involved in this blood feud. And of course, this feud would culminate at the granddaddy of them all, baby, Starrcade 1985, as the two would meet in a I Quit match for the United States Championship in a steel cage. This is by far, still to this day, in my opinion, one of the most brutal matches you will ever see in professional wrestling. I mean, yes, there's all sorts of crazy death matches going on, but watch this matchup and just like the intensity of these two, just like listening and hearing like both of them scream out in complete utter agony, just shrieking out like in utter pain, not willing to give up or submit to one or the other. Oh my gosh. And then the finish of this matchup, where they literally takes like a spike from a splintered wooden chair they use, where Magnum's pretty much gouging it in Tully's eyes, and just like hearing his god-awful screaming into the microphone and quitting. Oh my god, this was just such an intense feud and rivalry. But Magnum would go on to win back his coveted United States Championship from Tully Blanchard and would ride off into the sunset. Now here's an interesting tidbit I find in real life. You know that Tessa Blanchard, the daughter of Tully Blanchard, her father-in-law is also Magnum TA, so both of her dads are Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA, who was involved in one of the greatest wrestling feuds of all time. How crazy is that? I'm telling you, go back and look back on this rivalry. This rivalry was intense. It's one of the greatest of all time. And it is our rivalry of the week here on Back in the Day. So anybody that follows me knows I have a huge collection of wrestling magazines. So we're going to be taking a look at some of these magazines here each week. And to kick us off here, I'm just going to randomly pull one out. And we are going with WCW Magazine from July of 1992. Let's check it out. So on the cover story, of course, we're talking about Sting. As long as I'm breathing, the belt stays with me, referring to the WCW Championship. Are the fans responsible for the Rude Steamboat War? Williams and Gordy target the Steiner brothers. Ooh, interview with Van Hammer? Who is WCW's sexiest wrestler? Oh my goodness, and an inside two-sided poster of Ravishing Rick Rude. Well, first of all, we gotta talk about the WCW hotline, right? 1-900-909-9900. Gosh, I have this jingle still in my head to this day. Oh, here we go. Late breaking news in WCW. Ooh, the NWA World Tag Team Title Tournament's coming soon to the U.S. Steroids get the boot. Whoa, what? WCW rules to be enforced. Oh man, this was such a fun time here with Bill Watts' bullshit rules and the WCW rules, and You couldn't jump off the top rope. Yes, there was a time, folks, where you would get disqualified if you jumped off the top rope. Fan mail. Looks like everybody got some fan mail, from the Steiners to Flying Brian to Vinny Vegas. Yes, that's Kevin Nash. Front row ringside. What? Okay, I had to look at this too. Yes, that is not a Chris Jericho or Fan Hammer. I guess it's a Fan Hammer ripoff. JT Southern. I don't remember him. Oh, and here you go, Superstar Stat Pack on Greg the Hammer Valentine. A lot of people don't remember it, but Greg Valentine did have like a stint in WCW after he finished up with the WWF in 1992, so he was there for about a year or so. Ooh, can you guess who this wrestler is just by the silhouette? I'll give you a clue. As a collegiate senior, he was Associated Press second team All-American selection at middle guard. First team selection was William Refrigerator Perry. I bet you know who it is. Look at the fan art. Oh, it's Sting with... I don't know what's going on here. Oh, here you go. WCW videos for sale. And this is interesting too. Yes, you'll notice. So this is actually a European copy I have here. As you can see, you can get these tapes for only £12.99. But yes, Chamber of Horrors, Capital Combat... Ooh, Starrcade 90, Starrcade 89, some of their older tapes too, and yeah, just interesting. And back before there was the Ross Report in WWF, yes, the Ross Report existed in WCW. Look at that young Jim Ross. Oh, our first story here is on the Fabulous Freebirds. And of course, by the Fabulous Freebirds, hence... Listen up, fans. This is Michael P.S. Hayes with Jimmy Jam Garvin. I can't do a Michael Hayes. Oh, 10 questions with the Seaman. Look, and you can sit off and get WCW Superstar poster collections. Take my money now. Here it is. They talked about vote for WCW's sexiest wrestler. Is it the tailor-made man, Terrence Taylor? What about Seaman or Flying Brian? Or Ron Simmons, or Ravishing Rick himself, or the Natural Dustin Rhodes. I mean, look at that jacket. Oh, and it goes on. Yes, Scotty Flamingo. Do you know who this is? Take a closer look. If you know who that is, leave us a comment. And of course, the sexy beach blonde Sting. Fabulous Freebirds. We got Vinny Vegas. We got, look, what? It's Steve Austin. What? Look at that hair, man. And of course, the flamboyant one himself, Mr. Johnny B. Bad. Or you could go with the Steiner Brothers, or, of course, Missy Hyatt, or Medusa. Now we're on to the full color fold out, which I still have in this, too. But you can see, flip around. So pretty much it's Rick Rude, and that's Ricky Steamboat, and he's putting him in a pile driver, essentially. Sting, as long as I'm breathing, this belt stays with me. What's everybody's thoughts on this WCW title? I feel like a lot of people hate on it. I was okay with it. Now here we go. This is a story I can get behind. Williams and Gordy target the Steiner Brothers. That's right, the Miracle Finalist Collection. One of the greatest tag teams of all time, in my opinion. Terry Gordy and Dr. Death were freaking amazing. Their work in Japan, so incredible. This is cool too. It shows, like, you can see here, they're actually going up against Bam Bam Bigelow there in Japan and Stan Hansen. Look at that. Terry Gordy throwing a drop kick. You don't see that every day, folks. But yeah, this is just pretty much talking about the rivalry with Williams and Gordy and the Steiner Brothers. And those guys had some awesome matchups. You be the judge. Are the fans responsible for the Rude Steamboat rivalry? Look at poor Ricky. Got injured by this man. You see results of the injury there. Busted up Ricky Steamboat. Oh, look at this fan. Rick, your face is a rude awakening. Are you talking to Rick Rude or Ricky Steamboat, though? These guys did have an incredible rivalry. Had some awesome matchups. And who could forget their Iron Man match they had at Beach Blast of 1992. It's the Third Degree with Van Hammer. Yeah, because you know he totally wrote this article, right? So I guess this guy, JT Southern guy, was brought in to feud with Van Hammer. I honestly do not remember this feud, and I feel like I know a lot about WCW's history. Look at Van Hammer. How did that gimmick not get over? Out and about with Johnny B. Bad. He's visiting kids in a hospital, and he's making a popsicle house. Need to get me some WCW merch. Look at that Lex Luger shirt. Flex with Lex. Oh, that Sting jacket. That is calling my name. Look, folks, it just goes on and on. You need the Sting cup. What about the Sting glasses, the Sting hat? Your favorite Steiner Brothers supplies? A poster of the Seaman. Oh, dear God. A Big Josh t-shirt. Take my money now. Cannot forget, a lot of times people forget about these Bend-Em toys from WCW. And WCW trading cards, wrestling buddies. Oh, the Danger Zone with Paul E. Dangerously. And look at our parting shot here. Just Scott Steiner, jumping rope. There you go. And to end it out, a advertisement for Beach Blast 92. Like I said, that Iron Man matchup between Rick Rude and Ricky Steamboat's an all-time classic. And also, Sting versus Cactus Jack in an all-out coast-to-coast brawl. And Medusa versus Missy Hyatt in a bikini competition? What? So WCW's magazine from July of 1992 is our magazine of the week here on Back in the Day. And finally here on Back in the Day, I want to take a look and highlight some random merch throughout the years of WCW. Because WCW, like other companies, had a ton of merch. But they had some really weird stuff too. And I kind of want to highlight some of those. And this first one is a perfect one to start off with. Y'all remember the WCW Hero Heads? It's these things. That's right. Jesus. So pretty much this was like a giant foam head. But the funny thing is it's like came on the end of like a kind of a wiffle ball bat handle. And you could literally just beat the shit out of your friends with them. Because, yeah, beating the shit out of your friends with the Sting and Hulk Hogan or Vader head, that's not terrifying enough, just the heads itself, but beating them to a bloody pulp. This is some weird shit, man. Why is it I need them? I need all these. I'm going to make it my goal in life to find all these WCW big heads. I need them. Well, that's going to wrap it up here for Back in the Day. And I can't thank you gentlemen enough at World Championship Wreckage to be a part of this. I'm so glad to be able to be a part of your channel. So honored. And hey, if you like channels like this, then you should check out Cole TV. Just because on Cole TV, we talk about all sorts of pro wrestling. We have 2 weekly shows there. We've got Learning the Ropes on Sunday nights, where we look back at the history of professional wrestling, as well as our very popular Pro Wrestling 60 show, where we take a look at what happens in the history of professional wrestling in 60 minutes or less for that entire week. We cram a lot of stuff in the show, but it's a pretty awesome show. And hey, even if you don't like wrestling, I don't know why you wouldn't, but we got other stuff for you too. Like we talk a lot about 80s and 90s pop culture, go on toy hunts, we do food tries. We even have shows with talking dogs. I'm just saying, Cole TV's got a little something for everybody. So come check us out. Hit that like and subscribe button. Check it out. And hit that like and subscribe button here too. And join the World Championship Wreckage, because there's going to be all sorts of amazing content coming to you here on this channel. Once again, I'm XLJ the OG. I'll see you next week. We're Back in the Day.